I'm just going to get started. Here's our hot alpha for this week. Whoa, it's a big day for crypto. This morning is wild. So we are in clearly the deepest throes of the bear market, the most painful moment in the cycle of crypto that we've seen at least 2 other times, arguably 3. So we've got a lot to think about here as stuff is coming to bear.
BTC is down another $1,000 since you prepared the slide, which I think was 30 minutes ago.
Wow. Okay. So stuff is moving fast. And it is
are Tron and Neutrino both algo coins?
I don't actually know. Matthias,
and do we?
Yeah, they're both same like Terra.
Yeah, and Celsius. I heard that they said it had to do with market conditions, but I think last week I heard that all of their funds are like locked up.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Andrea. Yeah.
Oh, good. Hi. I just okay. So the Celsius thing just indicates the world needed more risk modeling, right? Am I reading it right?
That's probably part of it. You know.
What else is it?
That liquidity is not necessarily the answer to risk management.
Yeah. And maybe also that you can't rely on a bull market forever, even in crypto.
Yes.
Yeah. So everything comes back to risk management, but it's not like, I don't think that's the whole story, right? That the risk management, strategies that people use aren't necessarily managing their risk, but instead are, offloading it to a different type of risk, which is
yeah.
Andrea, I think one way to think about it is Wall Street is really sophisticated when it comes to risk management. That doesn't mean you can't have market crashes. Right?
Yes.
Right? People just
and crypto is relatively unsophisticated with risk management, and when you do, it'll get magnified.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so for us, do we have exposure to Celsius other than the market is crashing?
No.
Like we don't have. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I used to have a Celsius account that I got rid of like middle of last year. Personally, just because it was unclear what they were doing behind the scenes, and I wanted to be monitoring that.
Good.
So, an absolute terrible day for crypto. I'm going to talk about a few of these. Matthias has a little more info on some of them. So the top level, I think, story of this whole thing is that the crypto market cap for all of crypto dropped below $1 trillion. So that to me is the big, that's a big deal. The idea that crypto would diversify and that value would be stored in all these different places and that we would stay above $1 trillion, which is not a huge lift considering there are individual companies that are worth more than $1 trillion. For all of crypto to fall below $1 trillion, I think is a really, really big deal. And I think it suggests some really deep discounts that are available right now. Considering I'm long-term bullish on stuff, I just want to talk about the staked ETH for a second. So this might be even lower now because the past few minutes have given us more information. Actually, I need to go to CoinGecko, not CoinMarketCap. So let's take a look at this chart because the alpha today is absolutely interesting. So, staked ETH. Let me show this, because beyond the top level, I think this is one of the more important things to take a look at. So if we look at the price of staked ETH as denominated in Ether, so Lido staked ETH, what this is right now you can stake your ETH to let people to essentially like prepare for the merge, and you get an interest rate on your Ethereum. And that interest rate, I think it's like a little less than 4% right now. It started high and then it kind of went down as more and more people staked ETH. But the point is that you have to lock up your Ether in order to do that. And you can't withdraw it until after the merge happens. And you withdraw more than you put in. So what Lido staked Ether does is it essentially says, we're gonna deposit a bunch of staked Ether. We're gonna take 1% of your gains, and we'll give you back a token that represents your stake in the staked Ether ecosystem. And all of this is secured by smart contracts. So right now, you can buy one staked Ethereum on the market for a 6% discount below staked ETH, or below Ethereum. So as you can see, it's sort of been like losing the peg for a while now. Basically, after Terra, it sort of shook up the whole market, and then everything kind of collapsed. So this morning, I am pretty confident that the merge is going to happen, and I'm not planning on selling any Ethereum until after it happens. So if those two things are something you believe in, for example, for me, it makes sense for me to deposit as much Ethereum as I can into staked Ethereum. So for example, I swapped out Ethereum for staked Ethereum. I put in 3 Ether, got out 3.2 staked Ether. So after the merge, I essentially bought this at a 6% discount. Plus I'm getting an interest rate on that staked Ether. So if you're still bullish in the face of all of this craziness, that's a good way to just get discount Ethereum.
So Neil, why are people seemingly down on the prospect of the merge after the successful testnet merge?
Because Celsius, the way that they were generating interest rate for their customers was by holding staked Ethereum. Lido staked Ethereum was a big part of their Ethereum interest rate product. And so they've actually been forced to sell a lot of it. And so since they're selling off a lot of this fungible version of staked Ethereum, they're selling at a discount. And that's the opportunity for retail to essentially buy this stuff at a discount, because Celsius is trying to facilitate all the withdrawals that they've got coming out of their system. So since they are selling it, the price is plummeting. And right now there's not enough buy pressure on staked Ethereum, because people want to be liquid with it, because people may not be willing to wait for the merge to have liquidity. So that just shows kind of the impatience of the market. But this contract, the staked Ethereum contract, after the merge happens, Lido can't do anything about you converting back to Ethereum. So if I want to get more Ethereum, this is a pretty good way to do it right now. By staked ETH, which is not yet liquid. So people are selling it off to have liquidity. And yeah, people are selling it off to have liquidity. And because they are doing that, essentially, People are selling it off to have liquidity, and that's forcing the price down. But this will be transferable one-to-one, not on an AMM later. So unless the merge just doesn't happen, one of two things needs to happen for this to have been a good idea. Either the merge needs to happen, and I need to be able to convert this via Lido directly back to ETH, or people need to become confident that that's going to happen again, and then presumably it will return to the peg. So.
And so, Credmark doesn't obviously provide financial advice, but it would be interesting as a case study to put out how people can use Credmark tools to do this analysis that you come to, just as a case study.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There's certainly metrics about Lido that we could publish. We could look at those contracts, but I think I may have even more exciting opportunities coming down the pipe. Matthias, do you want to talk about some of these other things? I don't know enough about Tron and Neutrino to speak to it.
Yeah, it just a short one. So, for example, so Tron and Neutrino are both some kind of algo stable coins. I'm not so deep into the details, but at least for Tron, I know that they have transferred 700 million to the DAO to defend the peg. At the moment, they're holding at least they are not falling down further, right? So at the moment, they're back at 99. But yeah, if this market downturn continues, we will see. Therefore, I had to be watched attached to these stuff. And the other interesting thing I just saw, so the Bitcoin price hit now the 200-week moving average, and it never broke this line. So the line is somewhere by 22,400. So if Bitcoin holds this line, so it's like the last line in the sand before we have a total breakdown. People are guessing. So it will be really interesting the next weeks or the next days or the next hours to see if we stay above 22,500 or something around this. Otherwise, I think it will get far worse. And I added the previous cycles downturns. So just to give you an estimate, if Bitcoin would again fall 85% from its current all-time high, we would have a price of 10,000 Bitcoin or something. So there's really a lot of stuff still in the market that fears me, and it will be interesting to see how this plays out.
Interesting is a good word for it. Very positive word. It piques interest, doesn't it? Okay, so that's where we are on this whole world, which is crazy. Crazy stuff. But we had a lot of fun last week, didn't we, guys? All right. So a few things. I'll let Paul talk a little bit about this.
You bet. Okay, so the first bit of big news that I think everybody within the company has heard is that Collier is taking over internal ops. That means he will be on the sharp end of the stick for HR, for finance, for legal, and I will be moving over to the engineering side. So that's pretty exciting. I'm been working with Collier now for a long time, and I think he's absolutely perfect for this role. The other thing I wanted to mention is that last week we had a team meeting right before consensus that actually dragged on into consensus because most people stayed in Austin for it. And it was a lot of fun and very, very productive. It really helped us align the team and deal with the kind of loose ends that tend to creep up when everybody's working remotely for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. So in the future, we are hoping to do this more frequently than every 6 months because it's really, really useful. Yep. So, yeah, cool. Move on to the next slide. New partners. This is very, very exciting. So we have a proposal on Frax that goes live today.
Like we're in process of negotiating.
This means that this has been proposed to the Frax DAO. So people who are owners of FXS can now vote whether or not they want us to do this. And we have it on, it seems like it's going to happen. So very, very exciting stuff. We're partnering with IRALast to do this. It's going to be a really, really exciting opportunity for Credmark, assuming that the entire industry doesn't go away in the next few hours. Yeah, funny day to launch our biggest proposal to date. But this is all revenue for the Credmark Foundation. So this is direct DAO revenue that we would get, and it would be in the form of Frax and FXS. And this would allow us to start having consistent revenue from DAO tooling specifically, where we would be doing the risk management monitoring and alerting on some of the stuff around Frax distribution and Frax liquidity. That we can tie then back into the research that we've already done about UST and all the rest. So this is absolutely huge. Just to give some people some context, Gauntlet charges around $6 million annually for their services of the same type. If we were to get a contract like that from Frax, that would obviously make Credmark the DAO revenue positive pretty much immediately. So this is the first proposal is basically to scope out some of the next proposals. It's a little more complicated than that, but you get the idea. And then the follow-on proposals are to maintain the system and to expand it. So looking forward to that.
That's wild. So to watch the community discuss this, do we go to the Frax Discord or how do we see it?
Moment, where can Andrea go to watch the conversation around this? Do we know?
I mean, I don't really need to watch.
We've been
okay.
Yeah.
I don't really need to watch, but if it's public, it's kind of fun.
Well, there's like that snapshot. There's a dashboard that has all the proposals on it. You can go.
Oh, cool.
And are we live?
No, we're not live yet. There's a couple questions, but most of the discussion will probably take place in these Telegram groups that I'm in.
Okay.
Fabulous. Well, keep us posted, Moment. It's amazing. Good job.
This is the biggest thing to ever happen, hands down. And it happened on like one of the absolute worst market days I've ever seen at Credmark. So exciting stuff. We've had no wiki entries this past week. That's because everybody has been on site working on other things and preparing for this Frax proposal. But we have had a lot of new models coming out. So Kunlun is currently in a plane over Singapore, but Kunlun has been our star modeler this past week. We've got volume, we've got historical we've got essentially like a historical generic. We've got additional pegging information on curve. So if things are holding the peg to what they're held to. So in the either staked ETH or different wrapped Bitcoins or stable coin to stable coin, anything that's pegged to each other. We've got some pegging information on there, and then we've also got primitives in our framework. So that will help out our developers. That's a developer tool to allow people to essentially input and output just numbers or strings, basically any sort of primitive data type in and out of our framework. The API, this week we've had 22,500 API hits. And that's interesting, actually, because we've made a lot of our models more efficient so that they don't hit the API nearly as many times. But we have seen that with the dashboard, we've been hitting a lot more stuff. And our current top model is VAR. So value at risk seems to be of interest. Our current all-time most popular model is Uniswap v3 pool information. So that makes sense because we are considered core competency on Uniswap v3. Okay, so some of the other new features that are coming out. We've got integration into Jupyter notebooks, which is a big deal because data scientists tend to use Jupyter notebooks. I personally thought it would be technically impossible for us to do this, entering this effort, but thanks to Evo and Kunlun, we are able to import this stuff into a Jupyter notebook and let people experiment using one of data science's favorite tools.
It's really great. I love it. I can finally use the framework.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's incredible. I thought that this would be. I never thought that this would actually work, but we got it to work because Evo's done such an amazing job on the framework, and Kunlun is coming at it with an absolute wealth of data science experience. So these Jupyter notebooks are super impressive. I don't think I've ever been prouder of the team because I tend to be optimistic about what's possible, and this was beyond that, and it's happening. So I'm absolutely astonished. This is great. And then I'm going to show you all the front end demo. So we've got our terminal. We've got total value locked. As you can see, it is plummeting at the moment. So our risk dashboard now loads everything in kind of automatically. Volume was working before, so I need to figure out what changed on the back end. But all the volume numbers are still not working, which is what is preventing us from launching this dashboard not in beta. As you can see, as I scroll down to more and more of these things, it loads things in one at a time. And we've got Uniswap v3 over here. Again, the volume stuff is a little bit wanting at the moment. But yeah, as we load in new values, the second time any of this stuff loads, it loads much quicker. We can automate some of this stuff to have a lot of these numbers pre-computed, and that's some future work. Then on the token analytics side, some exciting stuff is probably going to be coming out over here soon enough, if we don't get too distracted by the Frax proposal. Yeah, let's go back over here. I'm totally ready for Q&A. So, any questions on any of this stuff?
It honestly feels like stay the course. You're doing the right things, right?
Yeah, I mean, these are huge bumps. These are huge bumps in the road that we're enduring right now, but it's the entire industry. It's not just us. So it really has nothing to do with us at the moment. So I'm hoping that we keep going. And yeah, with the Frax proposal, if we're starting to take in revenue, if we can become revenue positive, I think we'll be in really good shape. But my big fear at the moment is that a lot of the people that would be customers of ours are going to be suffering pretty dramatically from these market conditions. So essentially our total addressable market has shrank significantly. But I think that also means that people who are surviving this market are going to be looking for discount analytics. And so if we can essentially win on pricing, we can win quite a large section of the market share so that when it grows again, we can really take advantage of being established.
And if we win the Frax, when do we know? And then when do we start to charge?
Moment. When do we know? This is a one-time fee. Just FYI, if this proposal passes. but this proposal is the genesis of other proposals.
Yeah, so we're trying. The last detail is how much time we get for this first proposal. So once I hammer that out, probably after this call with you, Neil, it will go up today, and then it has to sit there for 3 days, I believe, and then it moves on to a snapshot vote. But given the folks involved given the other folks in this group that is putting forth the proposal, it seems like a solid bet to pass through. And then based on the time that we were given, we will accomplish what we've been tasked to do. And then at the end of that, we will submit our work, as well as also submit for a re-up of the same thing with adjusted numbers. So very quickly, to answer that shortly, this stuff moves pretty quickly. And given today's movements,
that's crazy awesome.
I think that it'll go even faster.
Yeah, so potentially we could hit 50% proposal yes today. But maximum 3 days. Okay, cool. Any other questions?
And that's why I love you guys. That's amazing. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, okay. Have as good a day as you can have.
Yeah, rest well.
All right, bye.